After 4 years together and an engagement, I finally chose myself over my fiancé, who couldn't choose me back. I was forced to break off our engagement because he'd rather keep his grown brother living with us than stand up for our relationship. When my fiancé's brother first came to visit us, everything seemed perfect. Family bonding, laughter, and long overdue connections. It was 2023, and my fiancé and I had been living together for a while in our cozy one-bedroom apartment after upgrading from a tiny studio. His siblings came from Mexico for their first visit, his older sister in her 30s and his younger brother, just 17. I was genuinely happy to host them. I wanted them to feel at home here. But then, out of nowhere, while we were walking around the mall one afternoon, his brother suddenly turned to me, smiling, and started thanking me, not just for letting him stay during their visit, but for letting him live with us when he moved here later that year. He said it like it was already settled, like the decision had been made, signed, sealed, and delivered. I froze. My smile stayed plastered on, but inside, I felt my stomach drop. He wasn't just talking about a short stay, he was talking about living with us indefinitely. And the thing that cut the deepest was realizing that no one had told me. My fiancé, the person I was building a life with, never even brought it up. He hadn't asked me how I felt, if it would be okay, or if we could even afford it. He just decided. In that moment, I pretended I already knew. I nodded and smiled because I didn't want to embarrass him in front of his siblings. I figured maybe my fiancé had just forgotten to mention it. Later that night, though, it hit me, he hadn't forgotten. He just didn't think it was necessary to ask me. It hurt more than I expected. Not because I didn't want to help his brother. I actually wanted to. I know what it's like to start over somewhere new, to need a hand. But I also wanted to be included in the choice. To feel like a partner in this relationship, not just someone who had to accept whatever decisions were made for me. So I swallowed it. I let his brother sleep on our couch, helped him settle in, and told myself it was the right thing to do, that kindness and patience would pay off. Fast forward 2.5 years later, he's still living with us. What was supposed to be temporary somehow turned permanent, and now my own sister, 19F, has also moved in. We're in a 3-bedroom apartment now, a bigger space that should have made things easier, but honestly, it's just a bigger stage for the same old issues. It all started with something small, food. Or at least it seemed small at first. His brother had this habit of eating everything in sight. My fruit for my morning smoothies? Gone. The ingredients I needed for baking? Disappeared. Snacks I bought for the week? Always finished. And the worst part was that he never replenished anything. Not once. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe he didn't know. Maybe I wasn't clear enough. So I tried to fix it the easy way. I told him, kindly, that if he finished something, just let me know so I could restock when I went grocery shopping. Simple, right? But he never did. It became this frustrating cycle, me buying, him eating, and me discovering the empty packages left behind. Eventually, I had to start writing my name on my food in my own home. I would label things in the fridge and pantry, hoping he'd take the hint. If it has my name, please don't eat it. I said more than once. But it didn't matter. He'd still take it. And it wasn't like we had nothing else to eat. Our pantry was full. There was always something available. He just chose the things that weren't his. One morning, I snapped. It was early, I was getting ready for work, and I went to make my smoothie like I do every day. I opened the freezer, and the bag of frozen fruit was empty. Not just empty, but left there as if mocking me. I could feel the anger rising, this mix of frustration and disbelief that after all this time, he still didn't respect even the smallest boundaries. So I did something I'd never done before. I woke them both up. My fiancé and his brother. It wasn't yelling, but it was firm, the kind of voice that comes out only when you've been pushed too far. I told them both how disrespectful it was, how tired I was of having to guard my food like a child in my own apartment. And what did my fiancé do? He defended him. Again. He said, "You don't deny food to anyone." Like it was some moral high ground I was failing to reach. I get it. We're both Mexican, and in our culture, sharing food is sacred. We grew up poor, and saying no to someone hungry feels wrong. I understand that. But this wasn't about generosity anymore. It was about respect. It wasn't just the food. It was what it represented. Every bite he took without asking was another reminder that my boundaries didn't matter in this house. And every time my fiancé sided with him, I felt smaller, like my feelings were something to be brushed off, something less important than keeping the peace. And of course, it didn't stop there. The food was just the beginning, the first crack in something that was supposed to be our home, but never quite felt like it again. And then there's everything else, the stuff that's somehow even more frustrating than the food. I feel like I'm living with an overgrown teenager who's allergic to accountability. He never, and I mean never, takes napkins out of his pockets before doing laundry. Every single time he washes his clothes, the washing machine, the dryer, and even the hallway leading to the laundry room end up covered in tiny pieces of wet or dry napkin confetti. It's everywhere, sticking to clothes, to walls, to the floor, and he just leaves it there like it's not his problem. I've told him countless times, gently and not so gently, to check his pockets before washing, but it's like talking to a wall. Then there are the dirty dishes. He used to leave them scattered all over the apartment on the coffee table next to the sink, sometimes even on the floor. Now that he has his own room, it's somehow worse. He just hoards them in there until the smell gives him away. And when I finally go in to clean or grab something, it looks like a college frat room. Cups, plates, and utensils everywhere. Speaking of utensils, he constantly takes things from the kitchen, scissors, spatulas, screwdrivers, tape, glue, and never puts them back. It's like living in a scavenger hunt. I've bought doubles of everything now, scissors, tongs, measuring cups, because I got tired of wasting half an hour searching for what should be in a drawer. And the cat? Don't even get me started. He's accidentally locked my cat in his bathroom or bedroom so many times that I've lost count. The poor thing ends up trapped for hours without food, water, or a litter box because he's never paying attention to where he's going. But the final straw, the one that made my sister and I completely lose it, was when she found his hair in her underwear after doing laundry. His curly hair. There's no mistaking it. He's the only one here with curls, and he trims his hair every week in the bathroom, then dumps the clothes he's wearing straight into the wash without shaking them off. We've talked to him about it, again and again, but nothing changes. The only redeeming things he does are washing the dishes sometimes, taking out the trash when reminded, and occasionally cleaning the kitchen. But the effort is so inconsistent, it barely feels like help. The issue with my fiancé, well, ex-fiancé now, is that he has always been on his brother's side. Always. No matter what happens, no matter how many times I bring something up, he either brushes it off, excuses it, or waits until I completely lose it before saying anything to him. And even then, it's never serious. It's always something mild like, "Hey bro, try not to do that again," instead of actually holding him accountable. It's like he's terrified of upsetting him. Meanwhile, I'm the one living in chaos, constantly having my boundaries ignored in my own apartment. After everything I've had to deal with, all I wanted was some privacy again. My home doesn't even feel like mine anymore. His brother has been living with us for over 2 years, and I think that's more than enough time to get on his feet and move out. He's been working for a while now, and we've never even asked him for much, just $400 a month to help cover rent, utilities, and food. That's it. My sister, who moved in way later, helps with $300, which was the same amount his brother started contributing when he first got here. My ex and I had talked about this before, at least 2 or 3 times, and I really thought we were finally on the same page. Especially after that morning when he saw me on the camera walking through the living room in just a shirt and underwear. I was home alone, or so I thought, and it hit him right then what I meant when I kept saying I wanted my privacy back. Later he told me, "Yeah, I get it now." For a second I actually believed him. I thought, finally, he understood how uncomfortable it is to never have your space, to always feel watched, listened to, and tiptoeing around in your own damn home. But even with that, he still didn't do anything about it. He just went back to defending his brother, like he always does. He never seemed to care that I couldn't even feel comfortable being intimate with him anymore. I hated having sex in that apartment because I always had to be quiet, cautious, constantly aware that his brother's room was right next to ours, separated by what feels like a paper-thin wall. I can literally hear him talking to himself sometimes, so imagine how uncomfortable it is trying to be close to someone knowing that. It completely killed any sense of intimacy I had left. This year, I've been dealing with his brother completely on my own because my ex has been in another state for military training. It's just been me, my sister, and him. And honestly, if it weren't for my sister being here, I think I would have completely lost it by now. She's the only reason I haven't gone insane dealing with his constant mess, his laziness, and his total lack of consideration for anyone else living here. It feels like I'm raising a grown man who doesn't even want to grow up. After months of putting up with it, I finally decided to bring up the topic again with my ex, about his brother moving out soon. I wasn't being unreasonable. I didn't say tomorrow, or even next week. I said in a couple of months. Enough time for him to make a plan, save a little more, and figure things out. But instead of understanding, my ex completely shut it down. He told me it would be unfair to his brother. Unfair. as if I hadn't been the one sacrificing my peace and privacy for over 2 years. I tried explaining calmly he could still help his brother, just not under this roof. I wasn't telling him to abandon him, just to stop making me live with the consequences of his endless charity. But he stood firm, saying his brother would only move out when my sister moved out. That's when I realized how blind he was to how lopsided the situation had become. My sister has only been living here for a year. 1 year. She's 19, just graduated high school, and only recently started working consistently. Yet she's already saving, buying her own furniture, and planning her move, taking actual steps toward independence. Meanwhile, his brother is 20, has been working for years, and shows no signs of even wanting to leave. He's comfortable here because he's been enabled the entire time. He doesn't have to pay real bills, doesn't have to respect boundaries, and definitely doesn't have to answer for anything he does. It's not fair, not to me, not to my sister, and not even to himself. He's been here 2.5 years, and it's like he's regressing, not growing. When my ex suddenly changed his mind about his brother moving out, it felt like everything we had talked about meant nothing. I had believed we were finally on the same page, that he understood how much privacy and peace meant to me after years of living with his brother. But when I brought it up again, he completely shut me down. He said it wasn't fair to his brother, that he still wanted to help him out. And all I could think was, when was any of this ever fair to me? From the start, I'd been the one forced to adapt. I hadn't been asked if I was okay with his brother moving in, I was just told. And because I loved him, I went along with it. I compromised my comfort, my space, my privacy, all for the sake of being understanding. And now, when I asked for just a little bit of that same understanding in return, suddenly I was the selfish one. What made it sting even more was remembering how differently I'd handled things with my sister. Before she moved in, I asked him if it was okay. I wanted it to be a mutual decision. He agreed, without hesitation. And now he was using her as an excuse, saying it would only be fair for his brother to move out when she did. How could that possibly be fair when his brother had already lived with us for 2.5 years, and my sister had barely been there for 1? She's working, saving up, making plans to move out soon. Meanwhile, his brother, who's older and has been working much longer, shows no sign of even trying. When I told him I couldn't do it anymore, that either his brother moves out or I do, I wanted him to fight for me. I wanted him to say, "You're right. I'll talk to him. We'll figure it out." But he didn't. He just kept repeating, "It's not fair." I asked him for a straight answer, told him I needed to know before someone else took the open apartment in our building. And all he said was, "Do what you gotta do." That was the moment I realized the truth. He would always choose his family over me. If he couldn't stand by me now, he never would. I started thinking about the future. Marriage, kids, the life we'd planned, and I just knew. If we ever faced a conflict involving his family, he'd take their side. I'd always come second. We were on FaceTime during that conversation, and when we hung up, I sat there staring at the screen, my heart breaking in slow motion. I opened the apartment application, and as I filled it out, the reality settled in. Maybe this was the end. Maybe love really wasn't enough if it meant constantly being unheard and unseen. So I did it. I broke up with him over text. It wasn't dramatic or emotional. I just told him it was over. I thought maybe he'd call. Maybe he'd fight for me. But instead, he said he was going to sleep. Just like that. No questions, no hesitation, no effort. And that's what hurt the most. Not the breakup itself, but how little he seemed to care. It was like everything we'd built together, the years we'd shared, meant nothing. I wanted him to care enough to stop me, to tell me I mattered. But he didn't. Or maybe he couldn't. Now I'm sitting here, heartbroken and numb. I keep replaying it all in my head, wondering if I made the right choice. I still love him so much, and it's tearing me apart to accept that love wasn't enough to make him fight for me.